All right. Thanks for being here today, guys. Watching this video either live or afterwards. So, just as a heads up, some of these videos I definitely don't have time to edit them right now. So, there might be some ums, some pauses, some other points of, where I ramble on for a second. So, feel free to watch this at 1.25 or 1.5 if you want to. One day I hope to build my channel and do more edits, but right now I'm just trying to experiment to get content out there. Um, and yeah, feel free to leave comments on things you think could be better, what could be, make the videos better. Um, the time frame is usually somewhere between 5 to 20 minutes. I don't know how long exactly I'm going to go on this one, but I am going to try to get straight to the point on some topics that I think are relevant for people right now. And this one is entitled Holiday Reflections 2023. I think it's important to do a topic like this right now, seeing as how much of the world in the winter months, if you will, it's very popular to have certain holiday traditions simply because of the fact that, surviving the winter, whether it's the November, December, January months for the Northern Hemisphere or the roughly June, July, August, give or take for the Southern Hemisphere. Um, Making it through winter used to be a lot much more of a harsh thing to have happen for us because before electricity, before, all of our food in supermarkets, before refrigeration, modern technology, surviving winter could be really difficult. And it still can be for many people around the world who may not have the specific amenities that many of us potentially who are watching this do have. So that kind of reflection, I think, is always significant. But I didn't come here to talk today too much about, the past years ago. These holiday reflections are meant to be for today's time period. So the first one I would say right off the bat is I think an easy, low hanging fruit, if you will, to address with this is very simple. Um, we've gotten to a point where, you know, a lot of our population is under, I would say, a spell, if you will. I don't want to just be, trying to trend or make a famous phrase or whatever that says like the spell of capitalism. But I would say that, you know, much of our population, and this isn't just in the United States, but around the world, um, we consistently fall. Um, I don't like the word victim, but we unconsciously go with the herd as to what is going on with a given tradition or holiday. And that sometimes means that people are spending, is egregious the right word? If not, look up the right word for me as I describe this in the dictionary. But we spend way too much money on gifts for people. And we have this extra pressure to always do better year after year. Notice how, and this might upset somebody if your time to make money is during the holidays. So I'm sorry if that's your truth for your livelihood. But notice how advertising always kicks up around holidays. A month or two before Halloween, um, for a holiday like Christmas, companies like Costco. I don't know if they have Costco on the East Coast, but large companies, even Target and other places, will put holiday stuff up, months in advance at times because people want to buy it, you know? And it's not the message of holier than thou. That's not it. It's not the message of don't ever have any decor around your house for, to have things lively and beautiful. That's not necessarily a bad thing, I would say. But where it becomes a real, where it can affect a person's mental health, for example, is when they realize that some of their family and friends legitimately expect bigger gifts every single year, or their spouses, or their children. Um, you realize that for some people, they legitimately expect you to get something bigger than the last year and better. Almost like it's like you're having to put out, you're an author and you're having to put out bigger and better books than the first one you ever wrote that was like a bestseller. And it's difficult to analyze a topic like this, if I'm being honest, because we don't really know where the line between greed and need is at times, and it's very hard to analyze that when you live in the culture and society that you do, and you're incalculated, you are a part of it. So looking from an outside perspective is very difficult. I'm not sure. In, inculcate, look up the word I'm trying to say if it makes sense to you. But we're a part of it. And so analyzing it is difficult in that regard, right? Because as soon as you start to criticize actions another person does, their their initiation is to then send it back to you. Their response is to send just as harshness of thoughts back to you. And I'm not saying this is objectively right, because obviously this is, could be seen as a subjective opinion. But I would just tell the younger crowds, at least, who statistically have less money and are having trouble buying homes around many parts of the country and the world because of inflation, who are already stressed because of challenging job markets, establishing yourself, figuring out things you're trying, who you are and where you want to go with your life in your 20s and 30s, maybe even in your 40s and 50s. But buying expensive gifts does not have to be one of the things you do. You know, imagine this scenario. As soon as more technology came into play in the 20th century, TV, first, well, radio, TV, internet, big three if you want to go there, right? Advertising went from, potential, needs back in the day to obviously some things that were more luxuries that you didn't necessarily need to survive. But it took off to a point where in our own lifetime, or the lifetimes, I guess, of our parents or grandparents, people used to send, cards for the holidays, and just like as a recognition thing of hoping you're doing well. But we didn't send gifts to every single person around the country, partially because we didn't have something like Amazon, or the US Postal Service, UPS, whatever else it might be. Um, but I think that people should hear and know that you can go back to that state of being where you get a couple of gifts for your closest family and friends, and then other people, if you have extended lists of new people you've met, or people you're wanting to keep in contact with, it's relatively inexpensive to write people cards and do postage and stuff like that, and basically wish them well for the new year and let them know that you're thinking about them. And when you hand write it, I mean, you can type stuff up in email and other things. It's totally fine. There's nothing against that. But there is something still about the handwritten note, which, a person took the time to get the note. They took the time to think about what they were going to say, because you have to get it right on the first try. Otherwise, you have a whole bunch of scratch marks and stuff, of words you didn't spell right or whatever else it is. But again, this might only pertain to the younger crowd who has not experienced this in their lifetime, because about handwritten notes, and that they come in the mail because you still have grandparents or anybody who sent you some, like on your birthday and whatnot. But I think that's a completely acceptable alternative than to going to buy someone who you somewhat know, they give you a gift or whatever else it is, and then you feel obligated to do so. Um, I don't think, number one, the materialist aspect of gifts is challenging, right? Just because if you keep telling yourself you have to buy bigger and better every single year, you're putting extra pressure on yourself that is not necessary. And I would argue, who is psychologically in society, individuals, businesses, groups, coordinated efforts, trying to make you feel like there's a big holiday sale this weekend? only this weekend. No down payments for 2 years on mattresses, whatever else it is, right? And do you even need a new mattress? Another aspect that I just thought of, which comes into the holiday, sphere of buying gifts and stuff like that, is this notion where you psychologically train yourself to expect gifts from other people. Whether it's a primal, something in our biology of, collecting resources, either literal ones like, food and housing and stuff, or other things like wealth that could be, that can add to your, total assets that you have, whatever else it is. You might say, oh, like a, 7 or 8 year old isn't thinking about that when they get gifts on a given holiday, which might be true. And yet, knowing that I've had that feeling within myself where I got someone a gift and they did not return the favor. Um, Sometimes maybe a thank you or something, but did not necessarily send the gift, um, send a gift back, and how that strange, bizarre feeling of why the person didn't do that. Well, I sent you a gift. Why aren't you sending me a gift? These are mindsets which I think don't help the holiday season. I think it's no wonder why, um, many people in different polls report, and I don't know if it's the majority, what percentage exactly, but many people report that the holidays are like a very miserable time. And admittedly, if you get to a deeper subject, you've had a family member or a friend who has passed away, and it's the first time without them during this holiday season, and that feels like you're almost lost without their contribution to the holiday season. Life in general, obviously, but the holiday season somehow a little bit more. Something, maybe it was a parent who made you guys really good meals, or maybe it was a best friend who you each get each other unique gifts each year, and now it's not there. There are legitimate reasons to, be challenged by the holiday season, whatever holiday season it might be, and how there are potentially painful memories that come up because that's part of being human. You know, you have some people who, realize that holidays were always so stressful around their houses because, for one, spending, buying 5 to 10 presents for like, a couple different people, unless you're very thrifty about it, that can add up pretty quickly. And again, the pressure to, the best gift, the best thing, what it might be. Um, because we've also gotten to this weird state where, and I definitely have received gifts in the past and not been grateful for them. Oh, somebody's at the door. Okay, you'll have to speed through this. Sorry. Hi. Okay. Sorry about that. So, um, the okay, the holiday process. Yeah, there are many reasons that a person could be, having real challenges this time of year, and that's important to understand because at some point, if you really want to break down how actions and words by other people and yourself and how certain events affect how you feel. And, do you like big groups of people or small groups of people? Do you have a certain tradition you love? Do you have a certain tradition you have, but you don't really like it and you'd like to do away with it? Making those changes, those active changes that you'd like to see, or keeping what you'd like to keep that is for your overall, beneficial well being, right? I don't condemn people who, a person who necessarily bought, their child a car or, a really expensive Xbox or whatever it is for, a given holiday. Um, because sometimes those things, maybe you buy someone a used car that they really need, or on the other end, you have another person who, brought a brand new car for their spouse or family member. I guess maybe the crux of it, is, why do we do the traditions that we do? And are they actually helping our overall sense of well-being? And it's really up to the individual on how you, perceive, given, holiday traditions and things that you would do within those holiday periods. But you also don't have to feel compelled to do something that you don't really want to do. You know, we have a real sense of a need of belonging, which I think is also partially why we always, we're comparing what we got to what other people got. And I think that is something deep within our DNA that modern materialistic adventures, um, I don't want to say they try to prey upon, but you do know that companies use psychology, um, to get us to, um, buy certain things that we absolutely do not need, or, you know, limited time offer, come get it quick while before it's gone. And so maybe the presence there is just to recognize when those kind of things are happening and to check in with yourself, you know. Have I bought, 10 things online right now that I didn't need? Do I have a friend or a partner or a child who I realize is a little is completely okay and obsessed with large material acquisition? Or do I have an elder? This one's hard. Do I have an elder within my family or community who, because they grew up in a different time period where, or maybe it's not, maybe time isn't relevant, but just the experience they've had, where their interactions are very like judgmental, they're coming from a place of pain. They will actually make statements like, well, if you really truly love me, this is what you would do and you wouldn't question it, which is a little bit on the borderline of narcissism, which would be I recommend watching videos all over YouTube of the several doctors who now have channels who talk about how to deal with a narcissist. 'Cause it's not easy. But I would, bringing it back to something tangible here. I realize I'm already at 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap up. But holidays can be what you want them to be, you know? And you are under no obligation, as I think I've said already in this video, to do do a certain thing or be a certain someone, you know? Do what you can. Excuse me. Do what you can. Do what you can with what you have and let that be enough. I would rather have 2 to 3 meaningful gifts from somebody made from their own hands, or something they did buy from an outside, vendor, but something that was very meaningful, which doesn't have to be super expensive. I would rather have 2 or 3 of those gifts than 10 to 15 gifts, which don't really, you know, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. But when we say the quality, recognize within myself and you and yourself that quality is not always the most expensive, literally with finances, financial payment. Quality is not always based on following tradition and whatever else it might be, regardless of the potential negative aspects with those. Quality is almost like goodness within itself, you know? You can make a quality meal that might not get you likes on Instagram because it's so simplistic, and yet it's enjoyed by all the people around you. You can spend quality time with another person, going on a hike, getting out into nature, maybe taking your dog if you have a dog, or getting up early for a sunrise to kind of rejuvenate, get into a body of water, unless it's freezing, in which case, I don't know about that, unless you're, what's his name? Hoff, the guy that does all the ice challenges. Quality, though, can look like how you want it to look. Every Halloween now, I read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow with a pumpkin candle lit, maybe some pumpkin bread if we've made some throughout, October. And I listen to it on YouTube and read it at the same time. And it's a fun tradition. Only been doing it about 3 years now, something like that. And yeah, the candle costs money, but here's another example. If you have, like, for example, if you have kids, read them the same story every night before a major holiday or the given night that is appropriate for the major holiday. And if there isn't a story for that holiday, maybe you write one. You are allowed in this reflection to do what will be helpful for your happiness and well-being as well as the happiness and well-being of others. That said, if you have people that you notice who they are consumed by consumerism, by materialism, by, I'm not, get me a gift because I'm wonderful. You are allowed to, in calmness, set boundaries. And for some people, that looks like a slap in the face to them. But even around the holidays, maybe it's because they have a perception of how your interaction is supposed to go. And you are always supposed to be the one making them happy because they aren't happy with themselves inside. Gifts are great. They're fun to give people, small things, big things, whatever it might be. But the gift of love, that's invaluable. Maybe that's what we need, all of us. A little more love, which we then share with others so that they feel a sense of purpose, belonging. humankind bonding. That's what I think the best of holidays should represent. Gratitude, a reflective nature, celebration for this one life we have, not promised to us tomorrow. Come to that calm space within and make holidays what you want them to be, to better yourself, not be better than others. There's a difference. But I definitely think it's worthwhile. I'll stop there. Just at about 26 minutes. Um, I'm going to think about other topics that I want to do on broadcasts. I do have to do some editing and other things as I get better with doing these. But if I even reached one person today with this helping you, come to some clarity on how during the holidays you're allowed to be about love. And that can be in a note you write somebody, it can be in a gift, it can be in your time and presence. If that helps even one person around the world realize that you don't have to, it doesn't have to be extravagant, it can just be heartfelt, then this will have served the purpose I wanted it to. So have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.